In our headlines on this Friday afternoon, September 6th, here in South Korea, President Yoon Suk-yeol hosts his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida for a final summit here in Seoul ahead of the latter's departure from office to reaffirm Seoul and Tokyo's commitment to a future-oriented partnership. And South Korea's current account stays in positive territory for the third month in a row in July, logging a surplus of over $9 billion bolstered by semiconductor exports. Over in the US, the Commerce Department unveils fresh export curbs on critical technologies such as quantum computing to foreign countries of concern, including China. President Yoon Suk-yeol and his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida are scheduled to sit down this afternoon here in Seoul. This latest trip to South Korea by Prime Minister Kishida is his third since taking office and comes ahead of his planned departure from his post. During their talks on this Friday, the two leaders are expected to share their hopes to maintain the momentum for productive bilateral ties and to reaffirm commitment to the trilateral partnership with the U.S. And speaking of the U.S., the Defense Department, for its part, also recently reaffirmed to the Voice of America the importance of the trilateral framework in ensuring regional security and promoting common interests. Meanwhile, North Korea continues to float waste-carrying balloons into South Korea. Some 260 balloons carrying paper and plastic bottles were sent between Thursday evening and early Friday morning. According to the Joint Chiefs of Staff here, about 140 balloons landed in the Greater Seoul area. North Korea has launched thousands of trash balloons in recent months in protest of propaganda leaflets floated up north by North Korean activists and defectors here in the south. Pundits have made note of the timing of the latest launches as it coincides with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's visit and the upcoming Chuseok holiday. In other news, South Korea's current account logged yet another surplus in the month of July, bolstered by exports of semiconductors. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin has the latest numbers.
South Korea's current account was in the black for the third straight month in July on the back of strong semiconductor exports. Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Friday showed that the country's overall current account balance in July logged a surplus of $9.1 billion. After swinging into the red for the first time in a year in April, the current account balance once again recorded a surplus in May and has remained in the black for 3 consecutive months. And while July's surplus is smaller than that of June when the nation recorded its largest current account surplus in nearly 7 years, it was the largest for the month of July since 2015. With this latest data, the current account balance in the first 7 months of the year tallied up to around $47 billion, a significant surge from the $5.2 billion recorded the previous year over the same period. The latest figures for July were mainly driven by the goods balance, which tracks exports and imports of products. The goods balance logged a surplus of $8.5 billion, marking the 16th consecutive month in the black. While that surplus was smaller than the June surplus, it was larger than the one recorded in July 2023. Exports rose nearly 17% on year in July to $58.6 billion, mainly driven by strong demand for semiconductor chips. This is the 10th consecutive month that outbound shipments have shown an increase, with chip exports rising around 50% compared to the previous year. But imports also saw an increase of 9.4%. The services balance once again recorded a deficit amounting to $2.4 billion, which was similar to the previous year when it came to $2.6 billion, but larger compared to 1 month ago when it logged $1.6 billion.
The services balance logged a larger deficit than the previous month, as the travel deficit grew due to the increase in outbound tourism from the summer holiday season.
The Bank of Korea official also projected that the current account will record a surplus in the second half of the year, as exports are expected to remain strong with the continued recovery in the global manufacturing sector. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
In the U.S., the Commerce Department has unveiled fresh export curbs on critical technologies such as quantum computing to foreign countries of concern, including China. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Peunji reports.
The United States unveiled new controls on the exporting of advanced technologies that are crucial to its national security. The rules affect quantum computing items, such as components, materials, software, and technology that can be used in the development and maintenance of quantum computers. They also impact manufacturing equipment for advanced chips, as well as a cutting-edge semiconductor technology called gate-all-around field effect transistors that help develop high-performance chips used in supercomputers. In an announcement on Thursday local time, the U.S. Department of Commerce said the new measures were implemented for national security and foreign policy reasons, as it seeks to harmonize controls with like-minded countries. The worldwide export controls include exemptions for countries that have similar measures in place, such as Japan and the Netherlands, as well as other allies. South Korea was not immediately included in that list, but the U.S. reportedly plans to approve export licenses for South Korea, so there will likely be limited impact on South Korean companies. The latest export curbs appear to be targeting China and other adversaries such as Russia and Iran to prevent them from accessing cutting-edge technologies. This comes amid recent fears that advanced chips and components could help boost China's military capabilities. Senior U.S. commerce official Alan Estevez said in a statement on Thursday that the latest export controls make it significantly difficult for Washington's adversaries to develop and deploy these technologies in ways that threaten their collective security. Putins, Arirang News.
Staying in the U.S., the White House has denounced Russian leader Vladimir Putin's interference in U.S. domestic politics. Now, this follows Mr. Putin's public assertion of support for Vice President and Democratic contender Kamala Harris in the upcoming U.S. presidential race. Our Lee Seung-jae has details.
It's an endorsement U.S. Vice President and Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris doesn't need. One from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Speaking on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum on Thursday, the Russian leader jokingly endorsed Harris for president.
We had the current president, Mr. Biden, as our favorite, if I can call it that, but now he has been taken out of the race. But he recommended that all his allies support Harris. That's what we're going to do. We're going to support her. That's first of all and second of all.
Putin further jokingly expressed his support, saying that her expressive and infectious laugh shows that she's doing well. Former U.S. President and Republican candidate Donald Trump has attacked Harris for her laugh throughout the campaign, going as far as to call her Laughing Kamala. The Russian leader added that Trump has imposed a large number of sanctions on Russia, expressing hope that Harris would refrain from taking such actions if she wins the elections. He also stressed that as the U.S. president is chosen by the American people, he will respect that decision. In response to Putin's remarks, the White House on Thursday called on the Russian leader to stop interfering in U.S. elections.
Mr. Putin ought to stop talking about our elections, period. He shouldn't be favoring anybody, one way or another. The only people who should get to determine who the next president of the United States is the American people. And we would greatly appreciate it if Mr. Putin would A, stop talking about our election, and B, stop interfering in it.
The comments also come after Washington charged 2 employees of Russia's state-run news network RT for money laundering, saying they paid an American company to create online content to influence the 2024 election. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, we shed light on an ambitious pilot program here in the country involving 100 caregivers from the Philippines to ease the burden of child rearing for parents in need of support. Our correspondent Moon Hye-ryun reports.
Last month, 100 Filipino women landed at Incheon Airport as part of the government's efforts to address the demographic time bomb. Since their arrival, they've taken mandated caregiver training run by the government to prepare them for the work they'll be doing for the next 6 months. The competition to be selected to employ their services was fierce, with 731 South Korean households applying and only 157 selected. The majority of those chosen for the pilot program were working parents with more than one child, with the target groups being working, single, or expecting parents. Caregivers can be hired for 4 or 8 hours a day, and based on a 40-hour working week, their monthly wages total 2.38 million Korean won, or nearly $1,800. At 0.72 last year, the country's fertility rate remains one of the world's lowest and far below the level needed for a stable population. Experts point to demanding jobs, stagnant wages, and rising living costs as key factors. Dual-income households have surged as a result, surpassing 6 million last year, with over half of families with young children having both parents working full-time. But despite growing demand for childcare services, the government says there's a shortage and existing options are too costly. This pilot program aims to tackle this issue, but $1,800 per month is no small sum for the average parent in South Korea, and is being seen as one of the reasons why many households that applied and were selected for the pilot program were located in the capital's wealthier areas. Yet lowering costs could lead to other problems.
Reducing wages could make it more difficult to secure workers, as foreign domestic workers have many other options once they get into Korea.
Vague guidelines of work for Filipino caregivers which restrict them to childcare have also been raised as an issue. This may have contributed to 15 households cancelling on the first day, though no official reasons were given. However, experts note that as a pilot program, it offers a chance to improve and could serve as a model for addressing broader demographic issues.
It would be more realistic to view this as a policy experiment to test how foreign workers can be utilized in caregiving services for the elderly population in a super-aging society.
The government plans to bring in up to 1,000 caregivers by 2028 if this pilot takes off, but discussions are still underway. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, at the 2024 Paralympics over in the French capital city, table tennis player Kim Gi-tae clinched gold in the men's singles tournament on Thursday to bring home Team Korea's 5th gold medal. Now, this latest victory also secures the initial goal set by the national team for the latest Summer Games. Kim began playing table tennis in 3rd grade and has been making a name for himself in the sport in the global arena. Back in 2022, he won 3 gold medals at the World Para Table Tennis Championships. And back here in the country, a light festival in downtown Seoul is serving to enhance the capital city's evening landscape. Our Park Eun-woo has a glimpse.
A 222-meter wide facade showcasing media art illuminates the Seoul night. This is part of the Seoul Light DDP 2024 Autumn Festival that kicked off a week ago at Dongdaemun Design Plaza, a multicultural complex in central Seoul. The event has been lighting the night once a year since 2019, and twice a year in fall and again in winter from last year. The fall edition of this year's event is even more special as the venue Dongdaemun Design Plaza celebrates its 10th anniversary. The event mainly showcases media artworks inspired by the world-renowned abstract artist Kim Hwan-gi. Marking the 50th year since Kim's death, the 8-minute-long media art piece, Poetry of Time, reinterprets 9 of Kim's works drawn during his 40 years as an artist. It depicts Kim's intention to capture the essence of eternal time in his artwork, while reflecting the themes of life and love. Another 7-minute art invitation created by a media art label Verste is displayed afterwards, showcasing the decade-long journey of DDP as a Seoul landmark. At the site, other artworks created by renowned artists from Australia, the UK, and Switzerland are also displayed for people to enjoy. While around 500,000 people came to the fall edition event in 2023, expectations are high that even more people will visit this year.
The event has brought nearly 20% more people compared to last year. This weekend is estimated to be the peak, so we predict the total number of visitors to exceed 20%.
Among those visitors, it was easy to spot travelers from other countries.
It's very abstract for my taste, but it's very exciting, new, and especially like for an art form that shows the building itself in the nightlife of Seoul.
The more I look at it, the more I want to see it. I came here by chance but kept watching it. The silhouette, color and movement made me absorbed into the art.
The festival runs every night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. until Sunday, so why not enjoy the night vibe of Seoul with inspirational media art? Park Gonu, Arirang News.
And also for fans and members of the art community here in capital Seoul, this week is proving to be an exciting one as two major art fairs have opened doors. Our An Sung-jin was there.
2024 is the year when culture truly flourishes in South Korea, especially for art. KIAF Seoul, which first opened in 2002, is South Korea's first international art fair. This year's edition began on Wednesday and is hosted by the Galleries Association of Korea. It presents both traditional and contemporary art from a total of 206 galleries from 22 countries around the world. Another exhibition started on Wednesday as well, the third edition of the Frieze Seoul. This year's Frieze Seoul Art Fair hosts more than 100 galleries from Asia and beyond with a focus on contemporary art. It aims to bring an array of work that represents the vibrant and dynamic art scenes both inside and outside of Korea.
Well, I like to think that Frieze Seoul provides a wide breadth of great art. They have some of the best artists in the world practicing. We have great institutions, great collector base. So I think Frieze Seoul choosing Korea was more of a validation of the incredible art scene that was already here.
The Frieze Art Fair is one of the world's most influential contemporary art fairs, being held in London, New York, and LA. Frieze Seoul 2024 showcases the history of art across the past 1,000 years through the Frieze Masters Corner, while the Focus Asia section displays 10 rising artists within Asia.
This Focus section is like an art fair, but it sponsors and supports experimental young artists and galleries. Through these solo booths, you can enjoy a lot of experimental artwork that has a sense of freedom.
Frieze Seoul this year delves into a number of Korean artists like Baek Nam-jun, Park So-bo, and Seo Do-ho, and puts the spotlight on other renowned artists such as Yayoi Kusama and Andy Warhol.
We've considered Korea as a market that we should try and break through. It's a market that's clearly in growth, and it's a market that we certainly don't want to miss out on.
The rich culture from these artist-run exhibitions adds to the cultural experience, and Frieze Seoul will run until September 7th, while KIAF Seoul until the 8th. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. Incumbent US President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, in a surprise move in a Los Angeles courtroom on Thursday, pleaded guilty to all 9 charges in his federal tax case on the day his trial was supposed to begin. The 54-year-old pleaded guilty to 1 charge of felony tax evasion, 2 counts of felony filing fraudulent tax returns, 2 misdemeanor counts of failing to file tax returns, as well as 4 misdemeanor counts of failing to pay taxes, totaling some $1.4 million from 2016 to 2019. The plea to the 9 criminal counts came after prosecutors objected to Hunter Biden's attempt to accept the charges against him while maintaining his innocence, known as an Alford plea. Instead, Biden opted for an open plea, leaving the fate of his sentencing in the hands of the court without any prearranged recommendation from prosecutors. Los Angeles District Judge Mark Scarsi said the maximum penalty would be 15 years in prison and that fines could range from $500,000 to $1 million. In what marks Hunter Biden's second federal criminal proceeding this year, President Joe Biden has continually said that he will not pardon his son in either of his cases. Biden is set to be sentenced on December 16th, 1 month before his father leaves office. French President Emmanuel Macron has named Michel Barnier, a veteran conservative politician and the European Union's former Brexit negotiator, as the country's new prime minister. After almost 2 months of a caretaker government following the political stalemate from France's snap elections, Macron on Thursday tasked the new PM with forming a new government. The newly appointed Prime Minister Barnier pledged at the courtyard of Hotel Matignon, alongside the outgoing PM Gabriel Attal, that, quote, all political forces will have to be respected and listened to, and I mean all, while saying that he will respond in his capacity to the challenges, to the anger, to the suffering, to the feelings of abandonment, of injustice in France. He now faces his first challenge of drafting France's 2025 budget to be submitted to the National Assembly by October 1st. 73-year-old Barnier is the oldest prime minister in France's modern political history, while his predecessor Gabriel Attal was the youngest. Now the Democratic Republic of Congo has received its long-awaited first batch of Mpox vaccines. Local health authorities hope this will curb the outbreak that the United Nations declared a global public health emergency. The first batch of 99,000 doses, manufactured by Bavarian Nordic and donated by the European Union, was delivered to the country's capital, Kinshasa, on Thursday. According to the EU Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Authority, an additional delivery of some 100,000 doses will allow a total of 200,000 doses to be distributed in the DRC. Congo's health minister, Samuel Roger Kamba Mulamba, said that he is confident about Congo's cold chain and logistics, which he says has the capacity of the Gavi hub and INRB facilities for below-zero storage of the vaccines. Mpox, which causes flu-like symptoms and pus-filled lesions, has killed 655 so far in Congo, out of the 5,041 cases confirmed, and can spread through physical contact, including sexual activity. Ugandan Olympic marathon runner Rebecca Cheptegei has died days after she was doused in petrol and set on fire by a former boyfriend. The 33-year-old runner, who finished 44th in the recent Paris Olympics, was attacked at her home in northwest Kenya after returning home from church with her two daughters on Sunday. While local police said an investigation is underway, a report by a local administrator suggested that the athlete and her ex-partner had been in a disagreement over a piece of land. Cheptegei, who is from a region just across the border in Uganda, had suffered burns to more than 75% of her body in the attack. She's the third female athlete to be killed in Kenya since October 2021. Kenya's sports minister said that this tragedy is a stark reminder of the urgent need to combat gender-based violence, which has increasingly affected even elite sports. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. The late summer heat wave continues in most parts today. Daegu and nearby areas saw afternoon temperatures hitting above 35 degrees Celsius yesterday. Readings should go 3 to 4 degrees lower this afternoon with rain in the forecast. Morning rain on the east coast and inland regions should let up in the afternoon, and the east coast could see up to 40 millimeters. Then there's a chance of passing rain across Korea until tomorrow at dawn. So please keep an umbrella handy. Southern parts of Korea should see heavier rain along with thunderstorms. But these scattered rain will not bring much heat relief today. Daegu, Busan, and Jeju will go up to 32 degrees Celsius. Seoul makes it to 29 degrees this afternoon. Skies should get much sunnier as the afternoon goes on. Tomorrow is Baekno already, the third autumn season term. But the heat will not go away with afternoon highs staying around 33 degrees in the capital through early next week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
On that note, we end our Friday afternoon newscast. Coming up now is our panel session, and today we address the popularity of Korean products in Russia amid geopolitical tensions. Do stay with us.